Hey, what's good? It's your girl, Unique the Freak, and you now tuned in to Hot 97. Once again, we have my boy, Duffle Bag Tony, in the house, and we're going to get into some questions, interview him real quick, you know what I mean? Since the ladies you calling and asking for him. So, Tony, what's good? How you doing? First of all, like, where you from, and how did you get caught up in the street life?
Well, I'm born and raised, you know what I mean, New York City, you know what I mean, Southside Jamaica, Queens, Baisley Projects, you know what I mean, born and raised, you know, and how I got caught up in the streets, you know, my father was in the streets, you know what I mean, I always wanted to be like my father and my uncles, you know what I mean, which was his brothers, you know what I mean, and just being around it all my life, you know what I mean, growing up in Southside, you know what I mean, seeing, the whole Supreme team and all that, you know what I mean, was a major influence, but my father, I would say, was the biggest influence because he was right there, he had the cars, he had the clothes, you know what I mean, he had women, he had my mother too, but, he had the women, my uncles had the women and the clothes, and, I always wanted that life, you know what I mean, so, I hopped off the porch at a young age, you know what I mean, 13, 14, you know what I mean, started dibbling, dabbling, and getting in the shit, you know what I mean, so that's how I basically got started. I was just influenced by, not only my pops, but, just the hustlers in the hood, you know what I mean.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so, since going viral, Tony, like, how has your relationship status been? Like, are you single? Are you in a relationship? Like, what's your relationship status? And, how life's been since you've been going viral since, like you getting all the fan mail and ladies, emailing the jail and emailing the station here and writing you letters in there. Like how's it been?
It's been crazy, you know what I mean? Like, I've been getting lots and lots and lots of letters from women all over, you know what I mean? Some as far as, out the country like Jamaica, Trinidad, you know what I mean, across the U.S., all states, you know what I mean, women across New York, Texas, Baltimore, Philly, you know what I mean, D.C., just a lot of women, not only write me letters, they sit in their panties in the jail and shit. Like, it's crazy, you know what I mean? And, and I love the ladies, man. I thank all the ladies, for taking the time out and writing me, you know what I mean? And I just appreciate it, man. I'm real humble, you know what I mean? As far as my status, I would say I'm single right now, you know what I mean? Because I was, the last relationship I was in was with London, and, I just told her, man, while I'm in here, you're free to do you, you know what I mean? So, I don't want to feel like I'm holding her back or anybody back, so, you know what I mean? As of right now, I'm single, man. I'm just doing me, you know what I mean? Just trying to make the best out of a bad situation, you know what I mean? But I definitely appreciate the love that the ladies been showing for sure.
Okay. Well, let's get to the juicy stuff. From doing my research on you, Tony, I heard that you dated a few female celebrities. Anyone we might know, and any secrets you want to tell?
I mean, yeah, I've dated, quite a few females, with the name and, in the industry, you know what I mean? Few singers, female rappers, you know what I mean? Actresses, but we gonna get into a little bit of that, season 3, you know what I mean? Season 3, which starts, May 30th. We gonna talk about some of the relationships I have had with women, that all, famous that you might know. Well, I don't want to drop no names right now because I don't want to give no spoilers, but definitely, season 3, I'm definitely going to let it, be known about a few women that I've dated that you might have heard of, you know what I mean? I just leave it at that.
Okay. So, let us know what's going on with your case. Like, how's your appeal going? Like, I read, that you put in an appeal. And, like, what's the status on your case? Like, is it looking good? Like, people want to know. Like, a lot of people are anticipating on you coming home, Tony. So, like, what's good? Let us know what's going on with your case right now.
yeah, I put in an appeal, to my lawyer. It's 50-50, it's 50-50, but, it's looking good because, a lot of charges got, reduced, a lot of time got reduced, I was looking at a life sentence, but, they cut some of the time down, so I'm still facing, 25, but, we're gonna try, me and my lawyer's trying to get more time cut or even time served, because, we feel a lot of injustice was done against me, and of course with the PI lady, her get caught up in a situation and, and her, using her powers against me, the appeal's looking good, so right now it's 50-50, and yeah, there's a lot of people, that want me to come home, and, but, if I do come home, man, I'm gonna try my best to stay out the street, man, and try to do something positive, like I said, I've been in and out of juvie and jail since I was 13, 14. I've been running the streets for years, so, I'm trying to do something different, but, it's 50-50 right now, unique.
Okay, Tony, so, are you still speaking to any of the women that you have spoken about so far in your series? Are you keep in contact with them? What's going on with some of the women you talked about and have relationships with in the series that you talked about so far?
Well, I talk to London all the time, she always accepts my phone calls. I talk to London, I don't speak to Magnificent Tyler, she gone Hollywood, me and her had a fallout. I don't talk to Magnificent Tyler. 88's cool, I talk to 88 from time to time. Peaches I don't speak to, she's not only cuckoo, but, dealing with the case, I can't talk to her. And, Sexy Trapper, she alright, we talk from time to time, but, everybody's cool, man, everybody just living their life, and I wish everybody the best. I have no hatred in my heart for nobody, I love everybody, I forgive everybody for whatever they might have done wrong to me, and, I just wish everybody the best,
Okay, Tony, so what's your opinion on Diddy? What do you think about Diddy and what he's going to and all? And what do you think the outcome would be with Diddy? You think he's going to be guilty, innocent? What's your opinion? Because I know you, been watching, everybody's talking about Diddy, so let us know what you think about Diddy. What's your opinion on that, baby?
Wow, man, Diddy, man. I don't know, that case is crazy. Unique, that case is crazy. As far as Diddy, as far as the abuse, what he, putting his hands on Cassie, yeah, he's guilty of that. I think it's definitely safe to say he's guilty of the abuse as far as putting his hands on Cassie and women or whatever. He's definitely had a drug problem, he's guilty of that. But I'm not seeing where it's a RICO case. I don't see the trafficking unless they're going to try to say that him paying the male prostitutes to be with Cassie is trafficking. Other than that, I don't really see no RICO case. I don't see no money laundering, which I don't think he would need to launder money. Diddy's a billionaire. And before that, he had hundreds of millions of dollars. So, I say, as far as him putting his hands on women, guilty, yes. Him being a drug addict, maybe drug possession because he's addicted to drugs, yes. But as far as racketeering, I don't see it. I don't see it. So, I don't know. I say not guilty on the racketeering and the money laundering, but he, guilty on the domestic violence. But he's not being charged with the domestic violence. He's being charged for racketeering and all that and prostituting. I don't see it. Unless they book him for booking male prostitutes, I don't really see him going down. I see it either being a hung jury or not guilty. But the way these crackers play, man, they don't play fair, man. They even locked up Bill Cosby. If they could lock up Bill Cosby, if you could lock up Dr. Huxtable, man, anybody can get locked. You know what I'm saying? Anybody can get locked up. I just found it crazy how, Diddy can get locked up. R. Kelly can get locked up. You know, Bill Cosby can get locked up. But yet Donald Trump and Kevin Spacey and Vince McMahon walked free. Like, come on, man. Like, you can't tell me that there's no racism in that, you know. But, you know, it is what it is. But for as Diddy, I say either hung jury or not guilty. But know how these crackers play unique. I wouldn't be surprised if they find him guilty, but hopefully they find him innocent, man. I don't want to see Diddy in jail for no 30, 40 years, man. He don't deserve that, man. Not even him, you know.
Okay, sounds good. So how's some of the guys that you was running with in Dallas, like Duke Farrow, SD, Platinum, Farrago, like you still keep in contact with them? Do they write you? You know, are you able to call them, speak to them? Like, what's been going on with them lately?
You know, me and Duke's still cool. You know what I mean? I talk to Duke Farrow from time to time. You know what I mean? He laying low. You know what I mean? Keeping a low profile. SD keeping a low profile. You know what I mean? You know, I speak to him from time to time. We ain't as close as we used to be. You know, as far as Platinum doing his thing. He's doing the music thing now. You know, make sure y'all look up Platinum, man. He's doing his thing as far as the music, man. Shout out to Lil Bro, man. I'm proud of that nigga, man. Like, definitely, my son got some fire music, man. You know what I mean? That was one of the dreams, and you know, to see my nigga get a deal. You know what I mean? And he's doing his thing, man. Shout out to Platinum. But yeah, I talk to the fellas from time to time. I haven't spoken to Farrago. You know what I mean? Cause Farrago, you know, going through his own shit. You know, they trying to indict him, but you know what I mean? Not guilty. You know how it is. Shout out to Farrago, the boss. You know what I mean? But shout out to everybody, man. You know what I mean? Dallas is my second home. So I got love for all them niggas, man. We got money together. You know, ups and downs, good times, bad times. Those my niggas for life. You know, man.
Okay. So Tony, if you could change anything in your life, what would it be? You know, it could be anything. Like, you know, just give an honest answer. Like, if you could change anything in your life, what would it be?
Honestly, I really wouldn't change nothing in my life, man. Cause, you know, what didn't kill me made me stronger. You know what I mean? And, you know, I really had no regrets, man. You know, you live and you learn, so I wouldn't change nothing other than probably maybe being born rich or something and being born in the suburbs or something. Other than that, you know, I can't even really say that unique because, you know, I can honestly say that, you know, Baisley made me, man. Baisley Projects made me, man. It made me who I am, and, you know, growing up in Southside, growing up in Baisley Projects in New York, it made me who I am, you know what I mean? Without being born and raised there and learning what I learned, you know, coming up in the streets of New York, I wouldn't have made it out of Dallas, so I wouldn't change nothing, to be honest with you.
Listening to your story, you know, you talk a lot about London. Like, can you tell us who London and, you know, all y'all guys still together? You know, like, what is the status on you in London? You know, could you talk very, very highly of London in your story? And, like, well, who is she to you? And, like, what's the latest on that situation?
London was wifey, you know what I mean? London was wifey, best friend, you know, it was definitely love at first sight, man. London, I met her at a lingerie party, you know what I mean? When the first time I seen her, I had to have her, you know what I mean? Not only she was fonder than a motherfucker, but, you know, when I seen that big ass and them thick thighs, I just had to have her. But yeah, London is somebody that's very, very special. True definition of a ride or die, man, and you know what I mean? I love her, you know what I mean? That's my girl for life, man. That's my boo right there, you know what I mean? You know, so London is somebody that's real, real special, you know what I mean? And like I said earlier, you know, as of right now, you know, we together, but like I said, man, she got a path to do what she want, you know what I mean? As long as I'm in here, yo.
All right, so Tony, is there anything you want to say to the ladies that's reposting your pictures, liking your pictures, sharing your pictures? You know, there's a lot of ladies anticipating on you coming home, you know, that would love to meet you. And, you know, like, what do you want to say to all your female admirers, you know, ladies that, you know, are feeling you? Like, what do you want to say to them?
I just want to personally thank all the ladies that's reposted my pictures, sharing my pictures, you know what I mean? You know, I even seen a few girls even get my picture, you know, my face or whatever, tattooed on their thighs and on their chest. I just want to thank y'all, man. Like, I'm truly, truly humble. Like, you know what I mean? I'm really, really, I really love it. You know what I mean? I just want to thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. Hopefully, I can get to meet y'all real soon. I'm anticipating on coming home soon too. So, and I would love to meet all of y'all. You know what I mean? So, yeah, thank you. Love y'all. Appreciate it.
Okay, Tony, before we let you go, let us know about season 3, Duffle Bag Tony Story season 3. Let us know about that, because Duffle Bag Tony Story season 1 and 2 is crazy, was crazy. So, what is season 3 going to bring? Like, tell us about season 3. Like, what can we expect for season 3?
Season 3, it's gonna be crazy. You know what I mean? It's gonna be crazy. And like I said, man, it's gonna not only be crazy, but we're gonna get into depth of certain relationships and why, certain fallouts happen between certain people, and you know what I mean? And, like I said, we're gonna speak on certain people that I dated that you might have heard of, and it's gonna get crazy. It's gonna get crazy. Like, if you know season 1 and season 2 was fire, you ain't hitting nothing yet. Season 3 is crazy. But definitely make sure y'all tune in, May 30th on YouTube, man. It's going down, the Duffle Bag Tony Story, season 3. And I just appreciate everybody that's been liking, commenting, subscribing, reposting. You know what I mean? It's definitely appreciated, man. Helping me get my story out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Tony, I noticed you've been laughing at my accent all night. You laughed how I said Duke Farrow. Yeah, a lot of people might not notice, but my mother is Italian. My father's African American. So growing up in Brooklyn and New York, along with having a white mother and a black father, that's my accent is a little different. So here, I hear you over there laughing at me, Tony. Well, it's all good, boo.
And nah, man. It's all good. It's all love, baby. You know what I mean? I kind of hear it. It's like a mixture of like a valley girl and the girl from the hood. You know what I mean? Nah, it's cute though, ma. You know what I mean? You sexy to the motherfucker, man. It's all good, baby. You know what I mean?
All right, Tony, before we get out of here, we want you to give your shout outs and, always feel free to call us if you need us for anything, you know what I mean? And definitely, if you do get out, make sure you come see me before you see London. So I'm putting in my bid in now because I definitely want to test ride that thing. Or I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? But nah, baby, give your shout outs, boo.
Yeah, definitely want to give a shout out to everybody. You know what I mean? Back home, you know what I mean? New York, Southside Jamaica, Queens, you already know what it is. Basic projects for life. Want to give love to my second home, Dallas. Shout out to my nigga Duke Frau, my nigga Platinum, 88, of course, London. Farrago the Boss, SD, aka South Dallas. All my niggas, man. You know what I mean? My nigga DG, Donald Gornins. You know what I mean? Just everybody I got money with out there in the hood. You know what I mean? In Dallas, man. Dallas really embraced me, man. They love me, I love them. But other than that, man, y'all make sure y'all tune in, man. May 30th, the Duffle Bag Tony Story Season 3. It's going down, man. You know what I mean? May 30th, Duffle Bag Tony Story Season 3, man. Alright, shit, man, Duffle Bag Tony. I'm out. Salute. One. Unique. No doubt unique. Yeah, I'ma see you. When I get out of here, Unique, I'm definitely coming to see you, baby. Hopefully London ain't listening right now, but I'm definitely coming to see you, but shh, don't tell nobody.
And with that being said, it's time for me to roll up out of here. It's your neighborhood's dope boy favorite girl, Unique, the freak. Make sure you tune in to the Duffel Bag Tony Story Season 3, May 30th. Is going down. So make sure you log in so you can stay tuned in to the hottest series online, the Duffel Bag Tony Story. You know how Duffel Bag Tony gives it up, baby. The hottest shit online. So stay tuned, baby. With that being said, I'm up out of here. Make sure you stay blessed. Stay dressed to impress, and always, always stay getting them checks. I'm gone.